Elena's life had always been defined by the pristine, orderly beauty of the Swiss Alps. Growing up surrounded by snow-capped peaks and a society that ran like clockwork, she had traveled the world extensively. Yet, there was one place she had never harbored the slightest desire to visit, let alone live in: the United States of America. In her mind, shaped by sensationalist headlines and cinematic stereotypes, the image of America was blurry and predominantly negative. She imagined a land plagued by high crime rates and rampant gun violence, a culture obsessed with unhealthy fast food, and a society that was cold, transaction-based, and aggressively capitalist. She pictured concrete jungles where danger lurked around every corner and a healthcare system that left people behind. To Elena, the American dream seemed like a marketing slogan for a chaotic reality she wanted no part of. However, life has a way of dismantling our prejudices through unexpected encounters. One evening, while scrolling through her social media feed, Elena stumbled upon a series of posts from European expats living in the US. They weren't posting about politics or danger. Instead, they shared images of vibrant, sun-drenched lives that seemed almost too good to be true. They spoke of a sense of freedom that was intoxicating, of communities that welcomed strangers like family, and of a quality of life defined by space and abundance. A small but genuine spark of curiosity ignited in Elena's chest. She began to wonder, was her perception of America merely the tip of a distorted iceberg? The doubt grew stronger every day until it evolved into an undeniable urge to see it for herself. Finally, she made the decision. Elena was moving to the States. Naturally, she wasn't without anxiety. Fears of safety, the aggressive pace of life, and the cultural vastness weighed on her. Yet, beneath the apprehension lay a thrill for the unknown. What awaited her across the Atlantic was a reality that would exceed her imagination in the most positive ways. A grand arrival. Elena's journey began at Zurich Airport, and after a long haul across the ocean, she touched down at JFK International Airport in New York. Stepping off the plane, she braced herself for chaos. Instead, she was struck by the sheer, majestic scale of it all. The airport was a bustling hive of humanity, yes, but there was an undeniable energy, a pulse of ambition and modernity that felt invigorating rather than draining. Passing through customs, the officer didn't glare at her. He looked at her passport, stamped it with a heavy thud, and looked up with a genuine grin. "Welcome to the United States, ma'am. Good luck on your adventure." That simple, unforced warmth melted her tension instantly. The freedom of the open road. The first shock to her system was the transportation. In Switzerland, she relied on trains. Here, she discovered the American love affair with the automobile. She rented a car, and as she merged onto the massive interstate highway, she understood. It wasn't just traffic, it was freedom. The roads were wide and seemingly endless, stretching toward horizons that felt miles away. Driving wasn't a chore. It was an experience. She felt a profound sense of liberation as she navigated the smooth tarmac, passing through diverse landscapes, from towering city skylines to rolling green hills. The road trip culture wasn't a myth, it was a lifestyle. The suburban sanctuary. Elena had secured a rental in a quiet suburb, expecting a standard apartment. When she pulled into the driveway, she gasped. It was a suburban house, complete with a sprawling green lawn and a white picket fence, an image straight out of a movie. Walking inside, her jaw dropped. The space was immense. The small, efficient living she was used to in Europe was replaced by an airy, open-concept design. The kitchen was massive, featuring a center island and a refrigerator double the size of the ones back home. There was no cramped water closet. Instead, she found a luxurious master bath and a walk-in closet so large it felt like a separate room. She realized that the American concept of comfort was rooted in space, the room to breathe, to move, to exist without confinement. Abundance and the supermarket. A few weeks in, Elena went grocery shopping at a local Whole Foods. If she thought the house was big, The supermarket was a cathedral of abundance. It was pristine, organized, and overflowing with goods. The produce section was a rainbow of fruits and vegetables from every corner of the globe, stacked high in perfect pyramids. The variety was staggering: 20 types of cereal, cuts of meat she'd never seen, and a bakery that smelled of fresh sourdough and cinnamon. And the portions. Everything was generous. She picked up a prepare rotisserie chicken and a container of potato salad for a price that seemed impossibly low compared to Switzerland. She had expected greasy fast food. Instead, she found a melting pot of culinary culture, fresh sushi, authentic Mexican tacos, and organic farm-to-table options all under one roof. The warmth of strangers. The most profound shift in Elena's worldview came from the people. She had expected a cold, every man for himself society. She found the opposite. One afternoon, while standing in line at a coffee shop, the woman behind her tapped her shoulder. "I just have to say, I love your coat. Where did you get it?" This sparked a 10-minute conversation about fashion, weather, and local recommendations. Elena was stunned. This small-talk culture was foreign to her Swiss sensibilities, but it was infectious. People smiled at her on the sidewalk. Neighbors waved. There was an openness, a willingness to connect with strangers that made her feel seen and welcomed. Community and trust. Her fear of crime was challenged by the reality of her neighborhood. One day, a package she ordered was delivered while she was out. She rushed home in a panic, convinced it would be stolen from her porch. When she arrived, she saw her next-door neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, standing on her lawn. Mrs. Higgins waved. "Elena, I saw the driver leave your box, so I just kept an eye on it while I was gardening. It's right there." Elena looked at the package, untouched on the porch. She looked at the manicured lawns of the neighborhood, maintained not by strict government enforcement, but by a community homeowners association, HOA, that took pride in their shared environment. She realized that safety here was built on community trust. Majestic nature. On weekends, Elena discovered that America was more than just cities. She drove to a nearby national park. Standing at the edge of a canyon, looking out over miles of untouched wilderness, she wept. The scale of American nature was humbling. It wasn't just the manicured beauty of the Alps, it was raw, wild, and ancient. She saw families camping, hiking, and cooking barbecue on portable grills, a culture that deeply valued the outdoors. A new definition of wealth. As her time in the U.S. drew to a temporary close, Elena sat on her back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of purple and gold. She had come expecting danger and noise. She found a land of abundance, space, and surprising warmth. She realized that her previous definition of a high quality of life, rigid order and silence, had expanded. True wealth, she discovered, was also found in the friendly wave of a neighbor, the freedom of an open highway, the generosity of a stranger, and the sheer vastness of a land that allowed you to dream big. Heading back to Zurich, Elena looked at the photos on her phone. The Grand Canyon, her massive kitchen, the smiling face of the barista who knew her order. She knew this wasn't goodbye. She had fallen in love with the American spirit. The preconceived notions were gone, replaced by a deep appreciation for a country that was complex, yes, but overwhelmingly welcoming. Elena promised herself she would return, not just as a visitor, but as someone who had found a second home in the land